Okay, I'm going to show you how to strip down one of the Harder & Steenbeck. This is the Evolution Silverline 2-in-1 airbrush. I'm going to show you how to strip that down and put it back together. Many of our customers always want to know how sometimes where the trigger falls out, how we get that back in, how we should take the needle out, the nozzle, and basically how to put it back together again. So first off, we just take the barrel of the airbrush off the back like so, and if we unscrew the needle sort of grub screw, just undo like so, and again very careful, take the needle out and lay that down like so. Now at the front of the airbrush we have the needle nozzle cap, which is actually in two pieces, but we generally take it off in one, and that comes out and has the nozzle actually inside like so. So again, all these are very delicate pieces, and when cleaning, just make sure you clean all the excess paint off these. Like I said, this is actually two pieces, so you take off the end piece like so, and you're left there with the thread. So again, clean all the paint off those areas. If you are cleaning, just drop those and soak them overnight or for a couple of hours, give them a good clean like so. So once this is done, as you can see, this part here is actually on a spring. Now when the needle's not in the airbrush, this will just come out. So it just lifts up like so and comes out there. This also will come out of the airbrush, and this is the whole back area that has the spring. There's a spring inside there which makes the needle and nozzle, or the needle, spring back into place. So if you ever have to retension that, it is quite an easy process, but you shouldn't have to do that. So we'll screw that back in like so, and the cup also on this will come off like so, and with the 2-in-1 you get a larger colour cup which you can use. Now underneath here is the valve assembly. Now this will screw off. Now many people make the mistake of when they take the airline off, this comes off with it, and they can't understand where they're going to put the airline on. So this is what's called a valve assembly, and you can actually change this for the FPC valve, so you can alter your pressures while you're actually airbrushing. So that just screws back on like so. So there you're down to the bare bones really of the airbrush. And to put back together, again, it's very straightforward. Just make sure everything's clean. Obviously while you've got down to this level, you can clean any paint that gets stuck in there. And first off, we put the trigger back in. Now make sure this is the right way around, so you've got the flat area there at the front, because it's got a little bit of a grid there. It makes the finger easy to sit on and easy to pull back. So if we just drop that into the front of the airbrush, the right way around, like so, and if you see that bit there needs to go in front of the spring there. So we pull that back, and you see how it's just dropped in. That way it makes the motion nice and smooth when you're airbrushing. So that's back in now properly, and you can see how the valve works. You press down and it works very it's like a car tire, so it makes the air come up through the airbrush. So next off, we're going to put the needle and nozzle needle cap back into the airbrush. So make sure that's in there properly and there's no damage to the O-ring on there, and simply screw that back in to the front of the airbrush like so. Make sure that's relatively tight, you don't want any air leaks. If you do get an air leak, you'll get a bubbling up in the cup of your airbrush. Same happens if you've got a crack in the end of the nozzle. When the nozzle's wearing out, you'll get bubbles coming up into your airbrush. We'll just put the cup back on there as well. And then the final part, just make sure that's seated down there, is to put the needle back in to the airbrush. Again, very, very delicate with this. I always put a finger there because it's easier to spike your finger than to bend the end of the needle. And just make sure that goes right the way through to the end of the airbrush. Don't push too hard, just give it a little twist, tighten up the little grub screw, and make sure everything is working. If you put this back in and you're still getting paint coming out when you press down just for air, it means that's not seated down properly. So just undo that, push it out there, give it another little tighten screw there and tighten up. And then as you press down, no colour should come out until you pull back. And then simply put the tail cap or on the barrel back on the back of the airbrush. This airbrush actually has a great feature of a restriction at the back here, so we can make it so it doesn't go back far. If you undo that, it will come back a lot further. So it's a great little feature, but you've got to get the back of the needle into that. So there we go. That's the Evolution Silverline 2-in-1, stripped down, ready to go back to work.